Welcome to the Butterfly Effect. I'm Garrett Horner, and today is Grand Prix Les Samyn. This is one of the Belgium semi-classics, and it's an important race, but not way up there on the scale when you compare it to Flanders or Het Nieuwsblad. Those races, Het Nieuwsblad, solid semi-classic. Flanders is one of the greatest one-day races in the world. This one I really look at like a third-tier race, and when you get to the third-tier races, it's really difficult to know how hard the teams are going to go. Believe it or not, a lot of these teams are showing up for these races because they're getting paid to go to it, because they need some training before the races. It's early in the season, so getting those few extra races in the legs before you get to Flanders and Roubaix, that's what this race is really all about. So tactically, you're never sure how it's going to play out. It could be really aggressive all the way from start to finish. It could just let a break go away and they can go all the way to the line. You're never sure what you're going to get. I wasn't even positive if I wanted to wake up and watch the whole video. But I figured this one is a good race and a good opener, so it might make a great video for the Butterfly Effect, and it did. We had Mathieu van der Poel in there. Of course, Mark Cavendish with De Koninck Quick-Step. He's back on his old team. I was really curious to see how his legs and his form, will he ever come back to that great winning style of what we are used to seeing when he's just winning stage after stage in the Tour de France and winning classic races. We haven't seen it for 3 years almost, so I was really interested. That's what got me out of the bed, honestly, was whether or not if we were going to see Mark Cavendish have some form back now that he's with his old team, De Koninck Quick-Step. All right, I get down, let's jump on the couch. Into the race at 80K to go. There's 4 guys off the front. The announcers are telling me that the first 50, 70K of the race were really hard and fast. 4 guys are gone. Now we're 60K into the stage, and there's a split 20, 25 guys up the road. Now this kind of tactic is much like we saw it on the race this weekend with Kuurne-Brussels-Kuurne, where you got a big group and you're not sure how they're going to gel. This group is not gelling with 60K to go. But the peloton behind is pretty small, and they're not that all that well gelled either. So the time goes out to about 40, 45 seconds. That's when Mathieu van der Poel lights things up. I mean, he goes through the corners. They enter one of the small towns on the laps, and he's blazing through the corners, overshooting the insides and the outsides of the corners, coming out on the sidewalks and in the gravel and in the dirt. He's putting his cyclocross skills really to work. He does a great job of bridging a 40-second gap all on his own. Now, he had multiple different guys with him. At one point in time, you see De Koninck Quick-Step rider latched on his wheel, and then you see John Degenkolb latched onto his wheel. Then you see 4 guys, 5 guys latched onto his wheel. Then you see the whole group latched onto his wheel. The accordion effect that was happening back there with Mathieu van der Poel, I really wish they could have just put the helicopter camera on Mathieu van der Poel coming across that 40-second gap all on his own. He literally did 7 or 8K and closed a 40-second gap on a group of 20 or 25 guys. And one of those guys up in the front was even his teammate who was pulling. I couldn't understand what I was watching. Mathieu van der Poel's coming across and his teammates on the front actually pulling and attacking and keeping the group up there going fast. I thought maybe the radios weren't working or something. I couldn't quite figure out what was happening there. But anyways, Van der Poel basically closes that gap single-handedly. The whole group comes back together, and now we're starting the last lap, the last 26K of this particular race, and it has 2 hard cobblestone sections. We'll see that Sepp Van Mark flats with 15K to go, and the announcers write him off. I'm thinking, man, that's Sepp Van Mark. Those are bold words to write off Sepp Van Mark with 15K to go. He's clearly riding good. We've seen him in both of the days. Omloop Het Volk and Kuurne-Brussels-Kuurne. He was riding strong on both those days. So I'm thinking, well, okay, it's a small race. He might just sit up and save the legs. But no, Sepp Van Mark, we're going to see him again. But first, let's get back, of course, to Mathieu van der Poel. He's up there with De Koninck Quick-Step. And first, he's driving with those guys and rotating through just a little bit. Looks like he wants to make it a field sprint, right? We hit the last cobblestone section. Florian Senchel from DeConinck Quick-Step lights it up, and Mathieu van der Poel goes with him, what looks like to me with ease. He's just directly on his wheel. But as Sinchel pulls off, the DeConinck Quick-Step rider looks back at Mathieu van der Poel, and van der Poel's not coming through. Now I'm rocked. I'm sitting on the couch. I can't figure out. I never see Mathieu van der Poel afraid to pull for any reason at all. If anything, he's doing 4 times more than anyone else in the group. So he sets up. That causes a little slowing between the two. And then, of course, it's Sepp Van Mark coming up with Van Poppel and Wisniewski. Now, Wisniewski has been having a good day, really strong the whole time. Those 5 guys are together, and they're not working together. It's literally Mathieu van der Poel that's killing that move. That move would be gone if Mathieu van der Poel just took a regular pull on the front. And so for me, I'd never seen this before. Like I said already, I couldn't figure out what was happening. That group leaves with 4K to go. They're getting caught with a K.5 to go. And then Mathieu van der Poel straight on the front. And then it becomes really clear what was happening. Mathieu van der Poel, when he was back there talking in his radio, what he had to be saying to his team became clear once he's on the front pulling with 1K to go, and the announcers start talking about his handlebars broken and it's just back there swinging. And then all of a sudden I'm thinking, oh, okay, now everything's clear. I thought everything was wrong in the world with Mathieu van der Poel won't even take a pull with some legendary riders when normally he is the legend. So when we see his bar swinging, it becomes really clear. He's going to do the lead out for his team, for his teammate, Tim Merlet, who Alpecine-Fenix have been doing a great job this whole race of being represented everywhere. Honestly, when I'm watching Mathieu van der Poel do the lead out, I don't even see Tim anywhere in the picture. He finally pops up way back there in the picture, gets really stuck on the left side of the gutter. Mathieu van der Poel, lucky for him, pulls over to the right, more to the center of the road, and that opens up the group. Man, I still honestly thought Tim Merlet had no chance of winning. When Rasmus Tillier, when he jumped and opened up the gap, it looked like he had this thing won. Then you start to see where you know his legs are hurt, and then he takes that dreaded, you're going for the line, you see the sprint of that dreaded look back because you know his legs are hurting, right? And he sees Tim Merlet coming. Tim Merlet flies back right past Rasmus in the very last 25, 35 meters. It was an amazing sprint from Tim Merlet to come from so far back out of the picture. He's coming 6 guys easily back to come up there and snag a beautiful win for a guy that on this level of a team to win this race and to dominate a race like this with DeConinck Quick-Step in this particular race was really good to see. They were strong. They were really putting on a show, but I just couldn't believe how good Tim Merlet was in that sprint. Mathieu van der Poel, good all day long. Tim Merlet, we'd seen him a couple times in the bigger breaks. He was strong today. The whole Alpecine-Fenix team looked absolutely fantastic all day long. Now let's get to Cavendish, because with 26K to go, DeConinck Quick-Step, when they crossed the line, they got 6 out of their 7 team there. So they have almost a full team still, and they're starting to work together as a team. And you'll see in the picture, it's Mark Cavendish, last guy out of the 6. So clearly they're thinking Cavendish is the guy they're going to lead out. And I'm sitting there on the couch like, are we going to see Cavendish from the Tour de France days when he's winning 34 stages? I mean, this guy wins stages all over. He's got 34 wins in the Grand Tour alone. I mean, he's just the Tour de France, not the Grand Tour. It's just the Tour de France. He's got massive numbers. Legendary sprinter, but we haven't seen him for 2.5, 3 years winning like that. So I'm just sitting on the couch with 26K to go. I'm like, man, are we going to see Cavendish come back or not? I mean, this is, years past when he rode for DeConinck Quick-Step, he was winning bike races. He left that team. He hadn't won bike races. Now he's back on that team. Is the DeConinck Quick-Step magic going to bring those legs back to Cavendish? But as we get to the finish of the race, Cavendish isn't in the picture. So we're going to have to wait a little bit longer to see where Mark Cavendish's form and if it will ever come back to what we've seen in the past. It wasn't here today. DeConinck Quick-Step still represented today and put on a show. They came up short. Alpecine-Fenix, Tim Merlet, you were awesome. Congratulations. Hope you guys like the butterfly effect today. Make sure you like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys real soon because we got more races this weekend coming.